Today's episode is sponsored by AdamandEve.com. Get 50% off almost any item by entering WTF at the checkout. And we're sponsored by Audible, where you can get a free audiobook by going to audiopodcast.com/WTFpod. Let's do it.
Lock the gate!
Are we doing this? Really? Wait for it. Are we doing this? Wait for it. How? What the fuck?
WTF.
And it's also, what the fuck? What's wrong with me? It's time for WTF. What the fuck?
With Marc Maron.
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers? What the fuck buddies? What the fucking ears? What the fucking nucks? What the fuckstables? What the fuckadelics? What the fucking fucks? What the fucky-pie Wall Streeters? I don't know. I'm out in the garage. It's Marc Maron. This is WTF. I'm drinking coffee. It's a little late in the day for that at the time of this recording, but I am drinking it, right? Oh, pow. Wow, I just shit my pants. Just coffee.coop. Why not? Why not throw that in at the beginning here? Why not throw in the fact that I'm going to be at the Punchline in San Francisco tonight, if you're listening to this on Thursday, November 3rd, through Saturday, November 5th, at the Punchline in San Francisco. If you want to be part of that, that would be sweet. Yeah, what a day we've got. You're wondering what's on the show? Are you wondering what's on the show today? What is this show about? Who is on this show? Well, I'll tell you what. On the show, I'm going to have this guy on the show.
I used to make these jokes about I should only develop scripts for John Cusack.
Right.
Why? Because guys have such a mental block writing scripts for black guys. So if they just run for John Cusack, the script would be done already. But and he'd write jokes and he wouldn't think anything about the fucking jokes.
Oh, is he saying that when a writer has in mind writing for a black guy, he's like, God, do I know the language?
Yeah, it's all this bullshit.
Yeah.
It's dude, what the fuck is different about my fucking life? Nothing.
Yep, that's right. If it's not a hard voice to recognize. That was Chris Rock. He was talking to me in the elevator as we went up to his office. We had a very interesting talk. It was great to sit down with Chris for a couple of reasons. Let me just do this first. Adam and Eve is our sponsor, and AdamandEve.com is not a bad thing. I have convinced most of you of that. You can judge how you want, but if you use condoms, vibrators, porno, things that snap onto things, anything, primarily the condoms is a great deal, but you can get this limited deal. You can get 50% off almost any item at AdamandEve.com. You get 3 DVDs of your choice if you want that. You get a free extra gift, a little sensual gift. I don't go into it. And bottom line, free shipping on the entire order. All right. So that's a good deal. Get your condoms, get your toys, get your buzzy things, get your hats that have a couple of purposes. AdamandEve.com. Do the special offer. That's this 50% off one item when you type WTF in the offer code area when you check out. And you'll get 3 free DVDs that you can pick, the extra gift, free shipping. Just use WTF at AdamandEve.com. Now let's move on to my conversation with Chris Rock. I was thrilled to talk to Chris. I've known Chris a long time. I had specific questions that I was curious about with Chris. And what I found heartwarming about it was that his memory of the people that were working primarily at the comic strip in New York when he was starting out. Now, if there's anything you can glean from this podcast, outside of what comes from the conversations, is that comedy is a community. The community of comedians is real, and there are hundreds of us, and we all cross paths, or we almost cross paths around the world, across the country, all the time. And it's been this way for years. This was a mind-blowing thing for me as I get older to really hear Chris talk about guys I haven't thought about in years, but guys I watched when I was a kid. Not on TV, when I was a kid starting in comedy. And I've recently been reading these articles at the WFMU blog. I think it's called the WFMU's Beware of the Blog. There's this guy, Cliff Nesterhoff, who has been writing these amazing pieces about sort of the grittier era of comedy in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, revolving around New York. But he recently wrote an article about a guy named Jack Roy and a guy named Joe Ancis. Now, the amazing thing about comedy, even at this time, even at the time in the 50s and the 40s, was there were hundreds of comics around. There were hundreds of comics hanging around, trying to get on TV, trying to get on radio, trying to get a gig. There were all these one-nighters and clubs and little places you could go. The Borscht Belt was still sort of intact. But there was still a community of wayward, awkward, angry, socially retarded, funny guys hanging around trying to get stage time. Just like today in a lot of ways. And this last article he wrote called The Schleppers about Jack Roy and Joe Ancis as really being the fathers of modern comedy. Now, this is deep comedy nerd shit. I mean, this isn't just, Mr. Show or Tim and Eric or even Monty Python. I mean, this is going back to the roots of what became modern stand-up. And if you read the article, what you'll learn is Joe Ancis, and some of you know this already, was Lenny Bruce's roommate. And some people think that Joe Ancis was actually the engine that drove Lenny Bruce. That Lenny Bruce was just this sort of Jewy mimic with a good beat, a good rhythm, good pace. But Joe Ancis had this amazing intelligence with his humor, and he was not really capable of getting on stage. Now, Joe Ancis and Jack Roy were best friends. Now, Jack Roy was this act, I think in the 50s, maybe the late 40s, probably the 50s, that was just too angry to get on stage, too depressed, too dark, too fucked up to really get on stage. They used to get high together. They used to hang out, not unlike comics today. All these guys hung out, but, pot wasn't around as much. But Jack Roy and Joe Ancis were buddies. Jack Roy quits comedy, and he goes into the aluminum siding business, and him and Joe Ancis still hang out. They're both doing aluminum siding, from the best I can tell, smoking reefer, and still writing jokes because they stay in the game. So they started selling these jokes to all the cats who were hanging around New York at the time out of the back of their car in Jersey. I don't know why you would have to sell jokes out of the back of your car, but they had a briefcase, they had notebooks or whatever, but they were writing jokes, and they sort of defined that moment in comedy's history where it broke away from shtick and broke more into, personal point of view stuff. Now, the interesting thing about this story, outside of Joe Ancis being the engine of Lenny Bruce, perhaps, is that Jack Roy couldn't stay out of the racket. He was doing aluminum siding. He was out for like 10 years, and then he comes back, changes his name because he wants to go on stage again, and that is who Rodney Dangerfield is. Jack Roy became Rodney Dangerfield. Rodney Dangerfield, one of the greatest sort of unsung heroes of modern comedy. But the reason I'm going off on this is that I read these articles now, and because of WTF and because of my relationship with so many comics and talking to so many comics, you realize you're part of this legacy. Yeah, I just emailed with Richard Lewis. I'm not dropping names. I sent him the article because you can see a direct chain. You can see a direct chain and a natural evolution of the community that is comics. And there's all kinds of guys that did comedy that nobody knows about. I don't know where they are, but there are hundreds of them. And I remember some of them, but these guys have always been there. And one of the great things about talking to Chris was that he brought up these guys, and these guys are at the front of his brain still, and they're at the front of Eddie Murphy's brain, and they're in front of all of our brains. Whatever happened to that guy? I mean, I've lived in New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Boston. I've seen, 3 or 4, obviously 4 different scenes, different points in my career, and I remember so many guys, and we're all part of this. And it's pretty exciting. It can be sad, it can be frustrating, it's a little heartbreaking sometimes, but we're all part of this amazing community that is comedians. And it's been that way for generations. I highly recommend reading those pieces. And I highly recommend right now listening to me and Chris at his office in New York City just a few days ago. As is sometimes the case, we are sponsored by Audible.com today. If you go to audiblepodcast.com/WTFpod, you can get yourself a free audiobook download. I don't know why I say audiobook, because they got everything over there. Anything you want to stick in your ears, you can pretty much get. There's over 80,000 titles, and that number keeps growing. But we'll give you a free one. If you go to audiblepodcast.com/WTFpod, we'll get you a free audiobook download. Now, look, I just did a search since I'm talking to Chris. I did a search on black comedy to see what it came up with, and it's interesting. What I got was Carnegie Hall performance, Lewis Black, Nothing Sacred, Lewis Black, Anticipation, by Lewis Black, Rules of Enragement by Lewis Black, and then Do You? 12 Laws to Access the Power in You to Achieve Happiness and Success by Russell Simmons and Chris Morrow. Narrated by Black Ice. And I Am a Wonderful Man by Michael Ian Black. Didn't quite hit what I wanted to in the way I wanted to hit it, but what I'm saying is, please, if you would, on me, get yourself a free audiobook download at audiblepodcast.com/WTF pod, and we'll take care of it. Enjoy it. Listen, stick it in your head, stick it in your ears. audiblepodcast.com/WTF pod. Enjoy. One of my first memories of you is actually when I was a doorman at the Comedy Store, 1987.
God damn.
You pulled up. It wasn't a Corvette, dude. It was like a Dusseldorf.
Yes, it was Richie Tinkin's car. Richie Tinkin was had a cocaine problem at the time, and he was just. It was like I was supposed to just drop him off. And he was just so fucked up that weekend.
So
that I ended up with the car for like 3-4 days.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I thought for some reason in my mind at that moment, I'm like, is that Eddie Murphy's car?
No, it's Richie Tinkin's.
Who the hell's Richie Tinkin?
Richie Tinkin was Eddie Murphy's manager and owner of the comic strip.
Right.
And yeah, and it's one of those weird things. That car, that incident. There's a lot of comics didn't like me back then.
Well, I think the assumption was
me pulling up in that car, like that was my car.
Well, I think there was also that. There was also sort of like, whose car is that? Is he on the payroll? I mean, is he being taken care of?
Yeah, yeah.
Not that. It's not the story.
No, but I definitely remember
the stink eye.
I definitely remember the stink eye from a lot of guys. Back then.
What was that? So that was 87. So you'd only been in it for what?
I was
3
probably
years?
in it like 3 years, something like that. Yeah.
Well, how did that happen? I mean, what was, because I remember when I started doing stand-up in New York, there was always that newspaper article of you in the comic strip, like, 12-year-old Chris Rock. It was just sitting there, and I always looked at it, and I thought, like, how the fuck does a guy start that young, and how did that happen? What was the excitement? I mean, 3 years in, usually people haven't gotten any shit together, and I
didn't have shit together. I mean, I could figure out a set.
You had Richie Tinkin's car.
I had Richie Tinkin's car. Eddie Murphy thought I was funny.
Yeah.
But it's still. I probably didn't get SNL till 10 years after that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
What was it? Where'd you come from in terms of how'd you decide to do stand up initially?
The stand up initially was. I always loved stand ups. Always, from Cosby, the whole thing and Pryor and all that stuff. But Murphy, being from Brooklyn, people forget Murphy's like the first real young comic.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the sense that like most young comics wore suits and fucking sweaters and tried to be grown men.
Right.
And Murphy's at a leather, like he didn't try to be a, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was acted his age. So that was, I mean, even when I think of Jerry Seinfeld, not until he got on his sitcom did he decide to be the man boy. Early on, he's got the blazer on, he's trying to be, that was every comic. We all tried to be fucking 45 and smoke a pipe.
Right. But when you saw Murphy outside of just being, because you were like in high school. I mean, you started when you were in high school.
Yeah, so Murphy to me was like.
And you saw him live? Is that where you first experienced him?
I saw him on SNL.
Yeah.
SNL and Delirious and all that stuff. But to me, he was connected to, like Curtis Blow and all this rap shit going on in the Bronx and all. Like he had something to do with all of that, even if he had nothing. Culturally. Right. So that's when I started thinking, well, maybe I'll do some stand-up. That's, you know what I mean? Like, hey, that's a thing. And it was weird too. I already had I had a deal to do a rap record.
Before you started stand-up?
Before I started stand-up, I had like.
Where did that come from? Did you rap?
I made demos, I rapped, I DJ'd before I did stand-up. Like, just pictures of me on, like, with turntables and high, and like, I could. So I had like a deal with Atlantic or some subsidiary of Atlantic Records to do a rap record. But I mean, I realized I couldn't rap, I couldn't sing. Now, by the way, if I'd known how much DJs made right now, I'd probably still be a DJ. The DJ wasn't paying that much money, so the stand-up thing, I don't know. And I loved stand-up. I just loved it. I loved it. Just.
And when you first started, were you doing long form, or were you just doing jokes? Or you don't remember?
Just doing jokes. I didn't know any better. I mean,
because I remember seeing you early on, and it's something like, however your personality evolved over time. Like I'm sort of. It's interesting when you're trying material. The difference between you trying out material and doing material is vast.
Oh, it's vast. It is vast.
And like when you were younger, you didn't like the what became the Chris Rock persona. I don't think happened till what, 1994.
Yeah, you could say that.
And so like initially you were like, when I talk to you and I've run into you over the years, when you sit down with you one on one. You're thoughtful, and you think before you talk, and sometimes you don't keep eye contact. And then when you get on stage, it's like, yeah. Obviously, you got, in some respects, you got taken for a ride before you were ready to go for a ride.
I definitely got taken for a ride before I was ready to go for a ride.
So what happened with Murphy, and why were you driving Ken Tinkin's car?
I was driving Tinkin's car. People have heard this story before. I'm at the comic strip one night, and Eddie Murphy is there, and basically, there were no black comics on the bill, and Lucian ended. I don't even think I was a regular at the time.
Well, you were what, 18, 19?
Probably 19, 20.
Yeah.
And I was stacking up chairs. That was my thing. Me and a guy, Mark Rader, died of cancer. Used to stack chairs after the second show to get stage time, so that way we could do late night. And so I would get there early. I would watch all the comics. And kids today, so because I'm that guy, right?
Well, it happens if you
kids
live
today.
long enough.
I'm always telling guys, like, you guys don't watch. Like when I go into clubs, like everybody's hanging out outside and shit. When I was coming up, we
sat there.
We fucking wherever there was an empty seat, like. When the place got packed, we got almost pissed because that meant some people had to wait outside.
Yeah.
Like, we watched every fucking body.
Do you ever sit and think about how long you've spent watching Insecure guys in front of brick walls?
Dude, I know so many people's acts.
Yeah.
I know fucking every Dennis Wolfberg joke and every Joe Bolster joke and every Gary Laser joke and
Gary Laser,
Mark Cohen and Jack Cohen and like all
Jack Cohen. Everyone you mentioned, half the people who are listening, if not more, will be like, "Who the fuck is he talking about?"
I know all these guys' jokes, man. I know their acts inside and out. And I know Fred Stoller and Stu Trivax. And
Trivax, the Orthodox guy with the bow tie.
Yes, Stu Trivax, the Sandy Koufax of stand-up.
Yeah,
not going to work on Friday. Yeah, I watched all these guys just take it in. So anyway, I was there, and Murphy, and I guess he'd seen his ninth, fake Seinfeld guy.
Yeah.
Goes there to any black comics. And they said, we have Chris Rock. Like, lying, because I was not supposed to be on the fucking...
You were a late night comic.
Yeah, I was a late night comic, but, and they put me on, and I had a really good set for that point of my career.
Right.
And, he had, this is not Dr. Dolittle Eddie Murphy. This is leather suit Elvis Eddie Murphy.
And he's weird because, I guess he started, I never knew him as a stand-up. To me, when I first saw him, it was Saturday Night Live, and Delirious came later, but I never knew him.
He was a stand-up.
But he was did you see him
doing Palazzo gigs?
He
was. For real. I mean, I didn't
night.
know him as a stand-up, but the stand-ups I know him as a stand-up.
Right.
You know, Joey Vega will tell you stories of being in a condo with Eddie Murphy. Fred, what's weird? Whenever I'm around Eddie, if I'm around him like a couple of days in a row, at some point he asks me about Fred Stoller. because that's like one of the last guys he did a gig with. That's like the last bastion of like his old life.
You can tell him that Fred's fairly accessible.
Yeah. He's like, what's Freddie Stoller doing? like, we're in his $50 million mansion. What's Fred Stoller? Because they did a gig together.
I just talked to Fred. He's okay. He's all right.
Is George Calfa still working? just.
Really, that's fucking endearing, and I'm glad to hear that.
No, these people, they're cemented in your mind.
Of course they are. And when you hear somebody dies or someone is in trouble that you haven't seen in 20 years, you're
I'm how's Nancy Redmond? I want to know how Nancy Redmond is.
I just heard from Nancy Redmond.
I want to know how Nancy Redmond's doing. I've done so many gigs with Nancy Redmond.
She just Facebooked me.
Yeah.
She came up on a podcast.
I think she Facebooked me too. Nancy Redmond, Bob Gallup, all these people.
Gallup, I don't know what's happening with that. He's the one guy you're sort of like, what is going on
with Bob? What's going on with Bob Gallup?
Yeah, I wonder if that guy's all right.
You
Okay, so Eddie sees you, and then like everything changes. You're 3 years in, for fuck's sake.
I'm like 3 years in. And I got to hang out. You got to realize too, it was like rolling with Ali. He had like 12 people with him anyway.
Is that a black thing?
No, not really. Sandler rolls like that.
Does he?
He does not with bodyguards, but he has,
Because I was I got it in my mind that it's
no, you know what it is? It's a
celebrity thing, a fame
No. It's a lower middle class, whatever. It's a we're not rich thing.
Oh,
that's basically what it.
In the sense that do you have hangers on, or in the sense?
Because when you really think about it, any blue collar white guy's got a pretty decent posse with him too.
Right, but they're not the posse that says, "Could you go in first and make sure everything's okay in there?"
Yeah, they do that too. They just don't.
Right.
It's just not as pronounced.
Yeah, the jobs aren't as defined.
They're not as defined. Yeah,
You're the hair guy. You're the guy that gets the drinks.
Shit. Kevin James got boys.
I know.
Not as
I'm just not that kind of guy, so it always baffles me. And I've been a satellite comic before. That's what Becker at the Comedy Store used to call them, the people that would hang around Dice or hang around Kennison.
Yeah, Dice. Yeah. Come on, what the hell? Come on, right. Dice.
Yeah,
Kennison.
I guess that's right.
But it's weird because I know the young comics listen to this. I always tell comics, they always ask me, guys ask me questions. And I'm like, dude, you hang with too many people. You have to be alone.
Yeah.
You have to live in your head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just see comics going to clubs like girls going to a fucking club.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Too many people around.
It's like, we're all going to the club. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? You got to go by yourself. You got to fucking take a drive. You got to listen to music. You got to fucking get in that zone.
Think.
You got to live in I'm going to take some bites of this food. You got to live in your head, man.
Yeah, I live in my head too much, and you live in your head as well.
I still live in my head.
Did you go to college or anything?
I didn't go to college. I did like a year of community college only because it was when I took my GED. It was at a community college.
Right.
So it was like to me it was like an extension of the GED.
Right.
But no real. I don't have a lot of schooling, Mark.
Yeah. But you got an aggressive mind, and you got an aggressive desire to learn. You're very smart.
Well, my father
guy.
drove a truck for the Daily News, New York Daily News. So there was always like a lot of newspapers in my house.
Yeah.
So, can you get me? I'm sorry, Brandon. So I want to mess it up. Can you get me is there an iced tea in there? Not a diet, like a regular one. If not, just get me a water or something. Yeah, was there water there? There's water there too. Give me water. Oh, okay, I got water there. Okay.
All right, so you get hung up with does he take you under his wing? That's sort of the question.
It was like any big brother relationship. It was like
with Eddie.
Yeah, you just learn more from watching than anything.
Yeah.
It's not like the thing I realized about Eddie, even though he's like so much more famous than everybody,
yeah,
he's only like 5 years older than me.
Yeah.
So
there was a bond. It wasn't like some old dude who's like...
Yeah, it wasn't like some old dude. And he's working on his own career.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
Even then he was like, in his mind. But he was very, Eddie Murphy, I can go down a list.
Yeah.
Arsenio Hall show. That's Eddie giving Arsenio a break and letting Townsend direct Raw and, coming to, coming up with "I'm gonna get you, sucker,"
Yeah.
Keenan, and
Yeah.
like a lot of shit.
So he was like he was everybody's portal in, all those black comics that were already banging their head against the wall in Hollywood.
Yeah, so I mean, he was a part of that community, and I didn't know any of those guys just being in New York.
Right.
So that was really cool. Like, you know, I didn't know who were the black comics in New York. Rondell Sheridan, nice guy, great guy.
Yeah.
Joyner was a little more accomplished than me.
Yeah.
And yeah, there wasn't like a lot of guys.
Isn't that weird? Though,
Mike Ivey.
Mike, yeah. But what's interesting to me is all the guys you're talking about have been banging their heads against the wall in Los Angeles. But there's this entire other world of black comedy that I barely know about.
And you gotta realize it was a point in time where they wouldn't even put up two black acts within the same hour at a stand-up club.
Why is that?
The same reason they wouldn't put up two women. They would think this weird bullshit that.
Yeah.
So if Tracy, if Joyner went on at 8 o'clock, I can't go on till 11 because we're obviously going to talk about the same shit, and we're not.
Yeah.
We're not.
And you think that still happens?
I don't think it happens that much no more. I don't think it happens at all, really. Not in New York, anyway.
Yeah. So now
people know me and Tracy Morgan don't have the same act. You know what I mean?
You never know what's going to happen with Tracy
You
Morgan.
never know.
When you're in conversation with him or when he's on stage.
He's the last madman.
He really is a madman. I mean, when they told me about when I heard about all that stuff that went down with what he said, in my mind, it's like he had no idea. That was not a plan.
I mean,
he was just speaking his mind, and it blew up in his face.
It blew up in his face.
But do you think that when you met Eddie, did that stifle your career alongside of helping it? Because there was some point where you became a born-again stand-up, and that it seemed like you were taken on this ride, and then after the ride ended, you were like, fuck, I better focus on stand-up.
I mean, it made people see me too soon.
Yeah.
You can definitely be seen too soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't really be seen too late.
Right.
But you can be seen too soon.
Sometimes you just got to hope you'll be seen again.
Yeah. So it did that. But I mean, I don't look at it as a negative. I mean, yes, it put a bullseye on me and it put me under more scrutiny, I guess. But I got to see a lot of shit. I got to be out in L.A. I'd never been to L.A. I'd never been on a plane, till Murph took me out there. And I got to see him work. That's the thing. I got to see him got to see him work off stage. I got to see him get ready for the Raw tour.
Yeah.
So it was like the Kid in Bronx Tale.
Right.
I got to really sit around and fucking watch a black superstar, fucking go about his business.
And what'd that look like?
It was amazing. I mean, and some of the things I emulated, and some of the things I okay, I'm going to stay away from that.
Like what? What did you emulate?
What did I emulate?
Because your work ethic is quoted. I mean, I've got, friends like Louis, and there are people that they always quote you with little nuggets about work ethic, about generating material, about keeping busy. You are a worker. You're not a guy that sits around and says, maybe I'll get another hour. I mean, you somehow developed this hour-a-year ethic that very few of us can abide by.
It's not a year. It's like an hour every 3 years.
Okay, all right.
But I haven't toured.
Well, you better tell Louis.
I haven't toured. Yeah, Louis. I don't know what the fuck Louis is doing. I don't know.
He's doing the hour-a-year plan.
I was what are you doing, man? I'm like, take a rest.
He's doing everything. Pretty soon he's going to have his own studio to make what he wants to make.
I don't know what the fuck he's doing. I love him. Mm-hmm. It's like, dude, 6 months off.
Yeah, and he needs
6
to.
months.
I think he's got a fear of that. So you're with Eddie, you're 19, 20 years old, and you're watching this guy, and you're making notes in your head I got to do that.
Yeah, I'm watching him I'm watching him. One of my coolest memories is actually sitting, first of all, you got to realize I watched Delirious every fucking day for years.
You did, as a kid.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there watching him watch himself as he's getting ready for tour. So he puts in a tape, Eddie Murphy live from Hawaii. It wasn't even a tape he shot.
Stationary camera, like a comic strip tape?
Like a comic strip tape.
Yeah.
It's in front of, 20,000 people.
Right.
In what's the Aloha Bowl? The same place Elvis shot the Hawaii special.
Uh-huh.
He shot
Practice.
a show there.
Yeah.
He shot a show there. with a white leather suit on, like with the same.
Oh, really? He did that on purpose?
Yeah. And watched him watch that and take notes, and then watch him on stage getting ready for the Raw tour, and just like.
What was his joke construction process like? I mean, was he watching for beats? Because some of us, I mean, it's hard to watch yourself. I mean, was he watching? Did he was he writing all his own material?
He was writing all his own material. Yeah.
And did he have people around throwing shit in?
People, for tags.
Yeah.
But that's what friends are for tags.
Right. That's right.
It's only when you're not your friends they go, I should get a writing credit for that tag.
Yeah. Right.
Like,
right.
That's what comics do. It's like, hey, that thing you did.
I said something to you once, and I don't know if you remember it.
Didn't you give me a tag like in the Comedy Store parking lot one night?
Oh, maybe I did. Yeah, I think I did. Yeah. I can't remember what it was.
I can't remember what it was, but I remember talking to you in the parking lot of the Comedy Store.
Yep. I can't remember what that was. It was
about a particular joke.
Yep. You were working on something.
That's what we do.
Of course.
Like, you got something. Hey, you ever think of this?
Yeah. Did you ever think of that angle?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's you got to fill your head with something. So Eddie had those guys around too.
Yeah, he had some comics around. I might have got a line in. Who knows? You know.
But what was the primary lesson you learned? That you just had to work your ass off?
You gotta fucking work it. I mean, like, if this guy's the best I ever seen, and like, he's worried, and he's going to the fucking club, and he's going over shit, and he's got a list, and he's like,
Yeah.
He's meticulous about it. And
what were the things you didn't want to emulate?
Well, I mean, people think there's this assumption that there's guys and there's walkie-talkies. And
You're not that guy.
No, I'm like, it's like, I don't want this. I made that decision. Like, I don't really want all these people.
Yeah.
I don't really need a party.
Yeah. So when you got SNL, how old were you then?
I was probably about 25, 26.
And that was a huge deal.
That was a huge
You're
deal.
following in your mentor's footsteps. And
Yes, I was. Me and Sandler got it. Actually, he got hired as a writer.
Yeah.
We're both there. Tell the story. We're auditioning for SNL in Chicago.
Yeah.
Dana Gould is on the show.
I just worked with him the other night.
And
Hilarious.
he was better than both of us.
He's hilarious.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
And we were like, why the fuck are we here?
Yeah.
He was so funny. He was turning into people and
yeah. Oh yeah.
What the? This guy is ridiculous. I always.
He's still good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Dana Gould.
He could do characters.
He got
he
a
could sing.
fast ball.
Yeah, really fast. Fast brain. Yeah.
Woo!
So you and Sandler.
So I can never talk about Saturday Night Live without going, Dana Gould was better than us that night. I don't know what Lauren saw, didn't see, I don't know. But
well, what was your experience with Lauren initially? I mean, was there that weird meeting?
It's that weird meeting where they tell you to have the show, but they don't say it.
Yeah.
In case they want to change their mind the next day.
Right.
They don't want to be on record as saying, we told you had the fucking show.
Yeah.
No, I loved it, man. I never got into the whole it's too competitive thing. And
well, you guys were sort of aligned. I mean, it was you and Spade and Sandler and Farley, right?
Me, Spade, Sandler, Farley.
And you were all stand-ups. I talked to Norm Macdonald recently, and he thought that there was definitely, like you guys felt that there was, there were the guys that come from sketch, and then there are the guys that come from stand-up. And the stand-up sort of stuck together because they didn't do that shit. I mean, they had nothing against them, but they knew that what their strengths were on some level.
The sketch people were more prepared to be on the show.
Yeah.
But the stand-up people were more prepared to write shit for the show.
Right.
Like, we fucking knew where jokes were.
Yeah.
When you perform in, and I'm not dissing anybody that does, sketch, but when you perform in, and I learned this from just doing a play, when you perform in a theater, there's appreciation just from performance that you never get in a comedy club.
Right. Right. They'll listen.
Like, it's either joke or not. Either the shit was funny or it wasn't.
Right.
So I think we had a tougher skin, but, who the fuck's funnier than Will Ferrell? So,
that's true.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Now, when you started to do the character roles, I mean, what was your confidence around acting?
I didn't have confidence then. To this day, I don't really do characters.
Right. You're Chris Rock.
I'm kind of me.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to accept. I mean, only now do I accept I don't do characters. And I can.
Because you can. You can accept that now.
I can accept it. Yeah, I can just.
You don't feel like you have to do it.
I don't feel like I have to do it. And and some of my favorite actors are just figure out how to, hey, Robert De Niro doesn't, it's just this much more. He's not, Daniel Day-Lewis. He doesn't absolutely become another person.
Right.
He just becomes another version of Robert De Niro.
Right.
You know, and it's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not the same guy. The guy in Goodfellas is not the guy in Cape Fear.
Right. No.
But they're both Robert De Niro.
That's right. Right. The basis is there.
You know what I mean? And then there's the guys, you know, when you're at something like Saturday Night Live, you can feel real inferior to a guy like Mike Myers who becomes a totally different person.
Yeah.
like, oh shit.
And there's part of you that thinks like, I'm never going to be able to
I'm
fucking
never
do
going to,
that.
that shit, you know.
Yeah. It's beyond me.
It's beyond me. Dana Carvey is like, this shit is beyond me.
Yeah.
Why am I even here?
Yeah. And how did that sort of manifest itself? Because ultimately, why did you leave?
Why did I leave? I left or was fired. No, I think I left. I got fired because I was leaving to go to Live in Color.
What was that decision?
The decision was like the culture's changing, and I'm not a part of it.
In what way?
This shit is getting hip. This shit is getting blacker. This shit is getting fucking rappier. This
Right.
shit is like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
like back to SNL was like, I mean, it's still a pretty white show, but it's
Yeah.
not. Back then it was. I mean, when I got hired, I was the first black guy in like 8 years,
Right.
and Living Color was just hip.
Right.
Shit was like, this shit is hot, man. I wanted to be in an environment where I didn't have to really translate the comedy that I wanted to do.
Or be the representative of race on a show.
That too. So, you know, I had these instances where they wanted me to do certain things at SNL. I was like, no, I'm not doing it.
Like what?
You know, whatever, slave sketch or
Right.
you bangy tribesmen or whatever. Where, not that I thought they were racist, I just thought that if you're the only black face that's going to be seen for an hour and a half, it just doesn't, you know what I mean?
There's got to be more for me to do.
It's got to be more, it's got to be, or another black person.
Yeah, right.
But, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but just one of me, you know, if there were two of us.
Yeah, it feels racist. It doesn't, it's not racist, it just feels that's all you see.
Well, it also speaks to the fact that even if they're satirizing, even if they were satirizing the idea of like what Townsend did, where that black roles are always limited to, you know, criminals or slaves, even if they were satirizing that, they're still putting you in that situation.
If you're on Live in Color and
Yeah.
you bangy tribesman, there was another black thing before you and one after. You know what I mean?
Right. There's a context.
There's a context.
Yeah. But that isn't racism in your mind. It's just the way things are. I mean, what is that?
That was no one. By the way, the people at SNL are the nicest people ever.
Yeah.
I'm friends with everybody there.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that. It was just. I mean, it was the same thinking that went on in the comedy clubs. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You know, shit was all new for everybody.
Right.
But the reason for wanting to be on Live in Color was just hip, man. And I had, you know, history showed that I had a sense of humor in me, but I was never going to be able to do that stuff at SNL. Just the stuff I did on my show, I never got to do that stuff on SNL.
And that's just because of the structure of that show. And you didn't have enough of a voice?
It's not just me, you understand. This show's just not. I remember Wanda got hired to do.
Wanda
Sykes, my love. She got hired to do a sketch show after my show, after she was on the Chris Rock show. I think it was Steve Martin was producing it. And she was happy, and I was happy for her. But it's like, I know that world. I know those white people.
Yeah.
And I was like, Wanda, all they're going to want you to do are things involving race or impressions of famous black people. They're like, you know.
And what did she say? No.
Yeah, I think it was no. And then like 3 months later, that's all they wanted. And that's all they do at SNL right now.
Right.
For black, you know what I mean? For black characters.
Right.
It's like, it's impressions of famous black people or something to do
Which is odd.
with race.
But it's odd because
not,
Eddie didn't do that.
No, Eddie didn't do that. Eddie, I mean, he did a couple. But
right.
No, he did. He was right there in the thick of it with everybody else.
So he wasn't fighting for what, you know, what became him. He wasn't fighting to do Jerry Lewis or white characters. It just happened to be.
He just happened to be so much better than everybody in the cast.
Right.
They had to run with it. And
So you think that decision to move to Living Color was your first real sort of awareness of who you were as a comic and what it meant to be a black performer at that time?
I don't know. It was just...
Like there is a growth of identity. You have to admit.
There is a growth of identity. I didn't... It's weird because I didn't want to be on for fucking... and they're great people. I would have been on there for... Shit, Meadows was on for 11 years.
On SNL.
Yeah, I would have been there fucking 8-9 years.
But there was no point, there was nothing inside you that said that, now I can, represent the creative black community? There was no part of you that thought that? There was
no part of me at all. I just wanted a system that I just wanted an offense.
Yeah.
Some guys work different offenses, It's in all sports, it's the system. And I just knew this wasn't the system for me.
How much was race part of your act before, like, when you were doing stand-up, right before SNL and during SNL?
It was a part of my act. I'm not going to... It's always only been, I'm going to say, 20%.
Right.
You watch any of the specials, okay, there's some race stuff in the beginning. By minute 20, whatever, it's current events and relationships, man.
But let's say before Bring the Pain and before SNL or during SNL, what was your audience? I mean, what, in terms of the black audience?
I didn't have an audience. I mean, there were people that knew me because I was, I guess, when did I do New Jack City? I did New Jack City while I was on SNL. Like, actually, the year before I did SNL, I did New Jack City. But it was such a low-budget movie, I didn't think it was going to be anything.
People were impressed with that.
I mean, it did a lot. To this day, people still talk about it. And I was in the movie, I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. And I actually had a little part in Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I wasn't... It's like you think you're famous then, but I wasn't really famous. I'm famous enough to get in a club.
So Living Color, you were on, you only on for a few months, right?
Yep.
And did you think that because...
Then it got canceled.
Then were you panicked? I mean, did you feel that it was a mistake?
A little bit. I mean, it was weird sitting in my house watching SNL while my friends were on fucking TV. It really was.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that first show. It was Charles Barkley was the host.
Yeah.
And Nirvana was the guest.
Yeah.
I was just like, wow.
You were like, I should be there.
Well, I didn't have a job, too.
Right.
It was like, besides the aesthetic, it was just like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I could be making $4,000 this week or whatever the hell they were paying me.
And I'm not.
I'm getting a spot at the Strip for $40.
Uh-huh. And is that where the panic set in?
I don't know. You just,
Because
you assess things.
Right, but you didn't have the HBO show yet. That wasn't.
I didn't have the HBO show. I had nothing. I just knew I was on SNL. So I mean, I was making enough. You play the clubs, have good weekends, made my bonuses. I was doing fine. It wasn't that, but I don't know. I just wanted to be a good. It was way. My main goal at that point in my career was to become George Wallace.
Really,
George Wallace.
You wanted to be in Vegas every week?
No. George Wallace, Don Maera, Bobby Slayton.
A big club comic.
Rich Jenny.
Right.
Got it.
Wanted to work every weekend, make your bonuses, make a living.
Make my bonuses.
Spend your life on the road.
If I could have become Rich Jenny or George Wallace, I would have been the happiest. That was the goal.
So to be a working comic.
It just went beyond that. But I'm still that.
No, but it went beyond that. But that is exactly what you did. But you somehow or another, like all points converged on this, on a moment that not everybody gets that moment. But you did 1 hour special, which was good, and it probably got you to where Jenny was.
I did a half-hour special, won the Cable Ace Award. Never won anything in my life. Then got the hour special.
Which was Bring the Pain?
Yeah, Bring the Pain.
And that thing changed everything.
It was ridiculous. I'm still like, what the fuck?
Now, when you were like, this is like the something that's been going in my mind is that because you're kind of an open-minded guy and you want to learn things. How big of an effect did your relationship with Nelson George have on developing your sensibility around modern conversations around race?
It had. I mean, honestly, it's the best thing that happened to me. And it's weird. It's kind of what separates me from a lot of guys.
Well, it was amazing because I remember years ago in the 80s, reading him in The Voice, and then reading, I remember reading one thing where he mentioned you, that he went jogging with you or you were walking or something, and I said, holy shit, it's that relationship.
It is that relationship. It separates me from guys I won't name. Because I don't know any other smart. He was my introduction to smart people.
Yeah.
I met Nelson because I'm trying to find somebody to write CB4 with. Mm-hmm. I had this idea, rap, Spinal Tap, whatever. And a friend of mine said, you should see Nelson. And I knocked on his door.
And he was primarily a culture and music writer for the Village Voice, Billboard magazine.
Exactly, and had made a bunch of money writing a Michael Jackson biography. That he wrote it before Thriller for $9, and then Thriller comes out, and and the book sells through the roof. Lucks up. Anyway, and we wrote CB4, and we became friends writing that movie, and that relationship. Like, I know a smart person who introduced me to other smart people. And, I knew smart comics, but I didn't know...
Intellectuals.
I didn't know intellectuals. And Nelson introduced me to this world of intellectuals, of black intellectuals. And...
like Stanley and Cornell and everybody?
Stanley and Cornell, Bill Stepney and the Hudlins and, like... all these people.
So you were brought into this think tank almost about contemporary black
culture. I was brought into
and
it was, again, I'm the kid in Bronx Tale again. So I'm the kid in Bronx Tale around Eddie Murphy.
Eddie, which taught you how to be a stand-up.
And then I'm the kid in Bronx Tale around these guys, like, okay, just shut.
Absorbing.
My biggest talent is actually I know when to shut the fuck up. I just shut up and listened and, took it all in.
Because in my mind, from looking at your work as an outsider, it seemed that transition, from elevating the conversation, about race that you were actually being witness to, intellectually, and how that informed your comedy was really the heart of that bit that defined your career.
That, and it's like, okay.
Because you wouldn't have done that bit on Bring the Pain like 10 years before that. It wouldn't have even really occurred to you.
Probably wouldn't have occurred to me.
Yeah.
But the thing, you know what it is too, man? It's like, when you have no ambition, you don't really feel racism. You don't even feel it. You're just
another guy trying to
you're just
get
poor
by.
And you live where you live. And
Yeah.
you live the effects of racism, but you don't feel racism.
Yeah.
When you start wanting to do shit and wanting to be taken serious and,
Yeah.
that's when the shit hits you in the face. You're like, oh, shit.
Like an example of that would be just the experience in retrospect at SNL or anywhere?
Or anything like that. If I was just happy to be there
Yeah.
with no ambition,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have wanted to leave, aesthetics and all this stuff. And
So that knowledge started to inform your work.
yeah, it started for my work. Another thing with SNL. So and they were great, but it's harder for a black guy in SNL. I know it's, okay, you would say me and Rob Schneider are equal comedians.
Yeah.
Fine, right? But if Rob Schneider is talking to Downey or whoever the people that pick sketches or pitching stuff, because they share a culture, you know what I mean? When I mean share a culture, they have kind of the same mothers and kind of the same dads. They grew up in the same... There's a shorthand that happens. And, you know what I mean? Like, they get the little things about them that make you funny.
Right.
And when you're the black guy, no one gets the little things. They just get the hits.
Which are bordering on stereotypical.
Right. They don't get the album tracks.
Right.
So,
right.
They don't really...
So in and of itself, it's a pigeonhole, and it honors a stereotype because it's shallow.
Yeah,
in a way. I'm not saying it's racist.
In a way. Yeah, it's not racist. It's just...
their lack of understanding of the nuance of the culture.
That's a good way of putting it. That's a good way of putting it, yes.
And so when you meet people and work, that would also answer to, using Living Color.
So you go to Living Color or even my own show, and I'm pitching an idea, and I don't even have to finish the idea for the person that I'm talking to know what I'm going for.
And Nelson was on your show,
and
right?
Yeah, and it's like, okay, let's try, and they know because we share a culture.
Yeah, right. But you also hired a lot of white guys to write on there.
A ton of white guys,
Louis,
more white
Tom.
guys than black guys. And to their credit, they immersed themselves in the culture. And by the way, it wasn't just, you know, I liked my show. I liked that it was not that it was mixed comedically too.
Yeah.
It wasn't just mixed racially. It was like, so we'd have the fucking hard, you know, over the top bit, and then we'd have some sly, weird Chuck Sklar shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And,
yeah.
You
Weird
know,
Louis stuff.
some weird Louis
Tom
shit.
Agnes stuff.
Yeah, we like I mean those are my favorite stuff is really the weird shit. Tell you the truth.
But when you started doing the Chris Rock show, then you sort of and you were aligned with Nelson, and you had a new brain about race. Then all of a sudden you become put in the position to be a spokesperson on some level, or at least somebody who's going to address this on a weekly basis.
I mean, I never bought into that stuff.
Right. Well, that's why I say you were put in a position by other people.
You can. I mean, to me, that's, you know, Lauryn Hill, probably Dave on some level.
Chappelle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens with a lot of black entertainers.
Yeah.
It's like they think they have to be a spokesman. It's like, buddy.
Do they think that, or are they put in that position? Are they asked questions that are?
Well, people try to put you in that position, but you don't have to go where they tell you to go. You can just, hey. I mean, I know I have influence. Don't get me wrong. I know people, you know, watch me and feel a certain thing, but I also have a job, and my job is to just be funny.
But you also do projects now, smaller projects that directly deal with intellectually and in a comedic way, like what is it, Good Hair? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
I mean,
but I like doing that. I mean, put it this way. You got Bill Cosby, you got Dick Gregory, both amazing comedians, all that. You know, Dick stopped doing, you know, stand-up or whatever, comedy for a while to be an activist. And, you know, my hat's off. He's got a lot of courage.
And he's got a lot of interesting stories.
He's got a lot of interesting stories. One of the first books I ever read was Nigger by Dick Gregory. But Bill Cosby might have gotten more done just telling jokes. The bigger you get, the more shit you can get done.
I think that, yeah.
And you have a responsibility. Your real responsibility is to get big.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, Bill Cosby himself is probably the real, and I just really watched it in a deep way within the last couple of years. I think it's one of the most, that's how stand-up should be done.
Yeah.
It's not like, you know, after years of Pryor and everything. I love Pryor, but
Bill Cosby's the greatest stand-up ever lived.
It's true, right?
I think so. I mean, don't get me wrong. To me, it's like, you know, it's the argument's always Bill Cosby, Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor is Willie Mays. Mm-hmm. Willie Mays is the most exciting player ever.
Right.
No one argues that.
Right.
Yes, most exciting, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Bill Cosby's Hank Aaron.
Yeah.
He's got the most home runs, he's got the most RBIs, he got 3,900 hit, like, buddy.
And what do you think
like
of the aging
undeniable.
Cosby? The aging Cosby, because he came down on you, didn't he?
Yeah, but he didn't know any better.
Do you talk to him about it?
You know, he had me over for lunch one time, and
what was that?
He just kind of like shrugged it off to, my people told me this thing. And
he didn't address it personally?
No.
There was none of that sort of like, I don't know what you think you're doing. What was the conversation?
You know what it was with Cosby? Like, he was definitely, put it this way, he was definitely pissed. But when he saw, and I'm just speculating.
About language, correct? Primarily?
Language, and I remember I had that big tossed salad man bit, and I had some dirty shit in that Bring the Pain special. Because in the beginning of Bring the Pain special, all these album covers pop up, all these great comedians, Cosby and Woody and Pryor and Eddie and all that shit. And he wanted me to take it out.
Really?
Yeah, but I'm speculating Cosby was mad. But when he saw how I was embraced by, you know, whatever you want to call it, intelligentsia, is that the word?
Sure.
He kind of, okay.
But Cornell and Stanley said it was fine, so he's good.
Yeah, I get the sense of that. I get the sense of that. Yeah. And he sent me some books, you know.
Oh, so he was trying to sort of passively suggest that maybe you should rethink how you present blackness?
He sent me some books.
Like what? So how not to say the N-word impulsively?
No, I'm like, I used to have the books up here. Sent me some Baldwins, a couple of cool things. We're cool now. We're great.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, great. I mean, I think I honored him. I was there at the Kennedy Center and gave him his Mark Twain Award or whatever. We're cool.
Oh, good. All right.
Cool. I mean, I got a call the other day just about some charity event he couldn't make it to. Could I do it instead of him? Whatever.
And do you feel like, because like I have these conversations, like I talk to Kamau a lot, and is there, when you look at the black comedy community, which there is one.
It's just a comedy community, but
right? No. But I mean, is there? What is that? Because I've always tried to deal with this myself because I'm interviewing a lot of comics, and I have a hard time getting to some people.
Bruce, you got Bruce yet?
I want Bruce. I want Earthquake.
Bruce.
I want Cat Williams. I mean,
Cat's gonna be hard to get.
No, I know. But
Earthquake, I love those guys. I love Bruce. I love Earthquake.
What's your relationship with them? I mean, because
cool. I think we're cool. I mean, I'm older than those guys, or not maybe physically older, but doing it longer than them. So it's not like we did a lot of gigs together or anything.
Right, but there's a difference between you and like Richard Pryor and Eddie and Bill Cosby in terms of having a sort of crossover act. But there's definitely people that draw black audiences and play to black audience almost exclusively.
No, but here's what you got to realize.
Okay.
We're in the era of cable television.
Yeah.
Okay? Because this could apply to the white guys, too. We're in the era of cable, we're in the era of the internet. And me, Cosby, whatever, even Chappelle. Chappelle's like the last great comic. The last great the black comic that appeals to everybody. Because Dave and me and all, we're from an era of 12 channels on television.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, I get that.
At our core, that's what we grew up with.
Yeah.
And it was that way until we were fucking 20 years old.
Right.
There were 12 fucking channels on television.
Right.
And when there was 12 channels on television,
everybody watched the same thing.
Everybody had to appeal to everybody.
Right. I get that.
Everybody. That was your way of thinking. You couldn't.
And that determined a lot of like racial dynamics.
Who the fuck's blacker than James Brown?
Right.
Nobody's blacker than James Brown. He appealed to there's nothing blacker than James Brown.
That's right. It's true.
Earthquake's black? Shit, James Brown is black.
Yeah.
But there was a showmanship. There was he goes James Brown right there.
Yeah.
He appealed to everybody. And people that are from that era are broader. And now you got,
people go for the specific audience, and that's enough.
I mean, Earthquake's audience is no bigger or smaller than Dimitri Martin's audience.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
It's, I love Dimitri's like one of my favorites too, by the way. You know what I mean? But everybody's niched out now. That's just what it is.
So you're going to tell me that in 2011, you're going to say to me that there are no color lines, just niche marketing. I'm just saying if what's my man? Oh, come on, who's the guy from Seattle? Jake Johansson.
Okay. I'm sorry. Cat Williams is playing 5,000 people. Jake Johansson's playing 1,000 people or 700 in a club. Jake Johansson ain't pop. Mm-hmm. The 5,000 is pop.
Yeah.
It's like Jake Johansson's the niche.
Yeah. Okay.
Not the guy in front of 5,000 people. Ron White.
Yeah.
That's not niche. That's not a color line. The Ron White people are totally separate from the Jake Johansson people. They have nothing to do with each other.
No, I get that.
Those worlds don't cross at all.
But there are such things as black rooms,
but
black
guess what?
comedy circuits.
20 years ago, 40 years ago, all that shit mixes up. Andy Griffin, one of the first great stand-ups.
Yeah.
People don't remember Andy Griffin was a great... As country as anybody, as blue collar as anybody, was appeal to everybody.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I get it.
You know what I mean? Wasn't Roy Rogers a stand-up, I believe?
Yeah, Roy Rogers, yeah. Will Rogers.
Will Rogers is a stand-up. As country as you can get.
Yeah.
Fucking Hatton. It appealed to everybody. That shit's done.
No, I get that.
That era's done. I just think it's done.
But don't you think on some level that in this age of internet and cable television, did you say that it insulates people more than brings people together? I mean, I understand that everybody's got their niche.
It does insulate people more. I mean, by the way, I think more. I mean, just as many white kids that like Kevin Hart as black kids.
Well, he's the next guy.
White college kids loved him some Kevin Hart.
Right.
You know.
But even like in the past, though, when you look at, the black comics like Pygmy Markham, Moms Mabley, all those cats, we're not playing for everybody until later in their careers.
Yeah, like Satchel Paige. But not until they were allowed to.
Okay.
Once they were allowed to,
then it's okay.
Red Fox, Chitlin Circuit.
How so funny.
The
He's so
day
fucking funny.
the day they let him on regular TV, it was never the same.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's 12 channels. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll follow it all the way through then. I'll go with you on that.
Yeah, Red Fox,
Arguably one of the funniest people ever.
Probably it's weird. He's not the greatest comedian.
But he's funny.
But he's funny.
He's one of those guys.
Funnier than everybody.
Like there's a few of those guys around where you see those people in life, and especially in comedy, that there's certain guys that cannot help but be funny, always, no matter what, even if they're being serious.
I don't know 2 Red Fox jokes.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
But just Red Fox.
But please,
everything about.
I don't want to go on stage after him.
Yeah,
I don't want no parts of that.
Speaking of that, I just followed your brother, and that was no easy trick.
My brother, fucking every night, man.
Kills.
My brother's a fucking Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, I hadn't seen him in a long time, and I never work at the Laugh Factory. I went there for my first set, and he did 35 minutes before my 15 or 20, and I was like, oh, fuck.
Kills.
Yeah.
Every night.
How many members of the Rock family are doing stand-up now?
3.
2 brothers and a cousin? Or one brother and a cousin?
2 brothers and a cousin. Yeah, I guess. With me.
But Tony's doing real well. Sherrod does well, and then the other brother started recently, right?
Yeah, he just started.
Which one's that?
Jordan.
Now, what's their decision on that?
You know what? If that's what they want to do, fine. I try to. The thing is, I'm still doing my shit.
Yeah.
So it's not like people are like, oh man, are you mentoring? Are you doing money? I'm writing jokes.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying not to bomb.
And you get along with those guys?
Yeah, I love them to death. Say, I got Laker tickets. Let's go. But and if they ask a question, I'll answer it. But I'm not like.
Do they ask questions?
Never.
Yeah.
Never.
I'm gonna do this on my own.
But I would answer anything. But I'm out here trying to, I'm trying to get my next hour and a half together to go on the road, and
And
I'm trying to not be, become a banquet fucking, I call them
banquet hall comedian.
Yeah, I call them the banquet comedians that only kill at the March of Dimes and shit.
Right. Only kill at the room full of people that love them or it's a charity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now let's talk about the issue of Chris Rock running material in a small club versus Chris Rock going on stage at an arena, because I've seen you go on stage and you almost sleep through some jokes. Like I've seen you with new jokes where you won't put any inflection on them. You'll literally just say them, and in my mind I think it's just to see the whether the joke as it is written.
Yes, it's like I want to believe that the joke,
without you juicing it, will
kill no matter what. That this act could be done behind a curtain.
Right. So you know that you're doing that on purpose.
I'm doing, yeah. So there's a part of me like.
So you'll go up there and risk tanking.
It's like, come on. There's no tanking. It's just. I mean, if I go to. It's so weird. I mean, you've been doing it long enough. Yeah. You've been doing it so long, you could just will yourself to have a decent set.
Right.
Just, especially
sometimes, not always.
At the cellar.
Yeah. Kind of. That room sometimes I walk upstairs there going, I know how to do this, correct?
But, I guess at the risk of tanking. But, I mean, I have a bigger goal. I'm thinking.
So the fact that, like, maybe 200 people walk out going, what the fuck was wrong with Chris? Who cares?
And, I mean, and that's, the Legend of Pryor. You know who I really learned that from, though? Damon Wayans. Watching him work out material.
Oh, he used to say that before he went on at the Comedy Store. I go, you going to do your shit? He goes, no, I think it's going to be a jazz set.
He's the best at that shit. Like,
I know.
Has an act. It works. Fuck you.
Yeah. You don't know what he's going to do.
I'm already famous. This is the gym.
Yeah, I saw him go on. He did his, the cerebral palsy guy for 25 minutes once, where he's just like, he's acting like a
and he's looking.
Yeah.
He's mining for fucking okay, it's going to come eventually.
And how long do you, do you keep going back to jokes? Because I just recently started, if you've got a long joke, when you do it like that, with no inflection and no juice behind it, what do you learn from that? What do you take out and what do you not?
I mean, I watch the tape.
Yeah.
I got the DVD or whatever, and I watch it. And I see where they laughed, and I see, you see where you fucked up. Like, oh, no, if I put that word here, oh, fuck, I stepped on it earlier without knowing, you just need jokes. I mean, it sounds like fucking Henny Youngman. It sounds like you need jokes.
So but there's nothing. You don't ever go up there with how much extemporaneous stuff do you? Because the one thing I realized about your last special was interesting. The way you decided to edit it was that there's one thing that's like, this is wild. He's doing this all over the world. But part of me as a comic, I had this moment where I'm like, well, now they're going to know it's just the same jokes everywhere you go.
Well, I mean,
do you know what I'm saying?
They're the same jokes everywhere you go. That's weird. I play all these countries now.
Yeah.
And you do have to tweak it.
Right.
You do have to tweak the show. I mean, but it's no different than fucking Rock Band.
No, of course
saying,
not. Of course not.
Hey, New York, how's it going? They fucking slip the words New York into the song.
Right, sure.
And then they slip Boston in tomorrow night
I get
when they're in Boston.
Yeah. But there's a point where that's part of the work is making those fucking jokes work. And making them work over and over again. And that's it.
It's weird. I don't like that special that much anymore.
Because of what I just said?
No, it's weird. I've been writing and looking at shit. I'm like, I think I was too. I think I did too many shows. Like I was like,
right,
kind of screaming the whole thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was playing the places I was playing was so big, and it was just. I want to bring it down,
right,
like a notch.
Well, let's talk about that real quick. Like, because I've always when I've talked to you as a person and as a comic and off stage, you're thoughtful, you're soft spoken. Now, how much, because you definitely all of a sudden, probably with Bring the Pain, maybe a little before that, decided, this is the Chris Rock on stage. And you were stalking, you were pacing, and it was an amplification. I'm not saying it's not you, but there is a definite difference.
There's a performance element to it. And I think that's what I was missing.
Right.
And I think everybody needs some level of performance element. And it can be low-key, too.
No, obviously, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Shit, Mitch Hedberg wasn't that spaced out on stage. You know what I mean?
Well, he's pretty spaced out offhand on stage.
But I mean,
no, I know what you mean.
He turned it on a little bit.
Right, you find that part of yourself that lives up there.
You know what I mean?
But how much of that, do you remember the first time you did it? Or did it just sort of happen?
I mean, I was getting better, playing the clubs, getting more confident. But, I have other black comics. It was weird. When I started working here, it was just, so you work catch and the strip, and there's not any black guys.
Yeah.
And here's the bad thing about that. You only get compared to people that look like you, ultimately. So in a weird way, it's like having no competition. Even though you're trying to have
but again, there was a black comedy world that was very over the top in a lot of ways, and it really had to fight to hold their audience.
Yes. But
style.
I watched, the Def Comedy Jam came out, watching Martin, watching guys, and it's like, you realize the worst Def Comedy Jam is better than the best evening at the Improv.
That's right.
Because everybody fucking performs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Even if the jokes are horrible.
Yeah.
They fucking
in spite of that.
throw. I'm talking at the last season of Def Jam where. Martin's not even a host anymore.
Yeah.
Those shows are better than any evening at the Improv because the guys are really performing. And I just realized I had to perform somewhat,
Yeah.
I'm from a family of preachers, man. Like, not my dad, but my granddad, my great-granddad.
You grew up with it?
Yeah.
But I mean, you saw your grandfather preach?
Yeah, like a lot. So I was around that shit. And I watched my grandfather take notes and work on his sermons. And
And you knew it was an act.
Yeah, I knew it was an act. And so I kind of, I don't know. I just you gotta work this shit. You can't take it for granted.
And that made the difference, huh?
It made a lot of difference. And I like to tell guys, great show in a club could be a horrible show in a theater. You start playing these theaters, man. They saw Elvis Costello in the same theater the night before you.
Yeah.
Or they saw Prince in the same fucking arena the night before. And you're held to that standard.
Right. You can't pull out your notebook and...
You know what I mean?
Unless it's really part of your act.
See fucking... We're at Radio City Music Hall.
Yeah.
We see great entertainers here.
Yeah. Are you going to do that?
Yeah. This is where... I'm sitting in the same spot. I saw fucking Michael Jackson or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. What do you got?
Yeah. I want you to do that without a band.
Right.
Without a fucking light show. You know what I mean?
Right.
You got to fucking bring it.
Yeah.
some of us, watching Eddie and but you got to give them something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can lean on your stool in the club.
Yeah, but you better get off it when you're in the big room.
You better fucking get up.
Unless you're Bill Cosby.
Unless you're Bill Cosby. unless you're that fucking genius.
Dude, that's the amazing thing about watching Bill Cosby himself is like it's not even a stool. It's like a kitchen chair.
It's like a fucking yeah.
And he's just leaning back, holding the mic at a weird angle.
Well, now he's like a bluesman. I mean, to see
true.
him
That's true.
and to see B.B. King, it's not that different.
That's right.
They sit in the spot and they
just do it.
They play their acts, man.
Did you learn, like I learned, and I talk about this a lot now because I came so late to really getting it, was that where you realize as a comic watching Bill Cosby himself is that like he's deciding what's funny and he's making it funny.
Yeah.
You look at that stuff on paper, there's no saying that that's going to be funny.
I mean, that's how I'd like it too. I don't think in 5 specials I've had 3 funny topics. I like to dig myself out of a hole. I like to pick the worst shit. I was on stage the other night talking about the sex drive and how strong it is, and Japan has this insane earthquake, and all these people die, and this nuclear reactor is going off, and I guarantee you, 9 months from that earthquake, children are fucking born.
Oh, yeah.
Because people got to get some rubble pussy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm getting me so like...
Yeah, if it's the last thing I do.
Yeah. So...
Oh, I think definitely people like, it's like when shit is going down, you better find someone to fuck or jerk off or something.
Yeah.
Get me out of this terror.
Yeah.
Did that work out?
Yeah, we got a big laugh.
So
big laughs.
Do you get afraid of, tapping yourself out experientially, in material? I mean... How's everything going at home? Good?
Yeah. Am I worried about tapping myself? No, not really. Shit happens. I mean, I've been lucky. I mean, people are like, why do you do so many movies and why are you doing this stuff? I got to give myself a break. So I haven't been on the road in 3 years.
Really?
Yeah. So now I'm working out.
Yeah.
I'll probably have a set or whatever by January, February, Sometime in February, March, I'll be at Benny Brand's every night for fucking and then I'll take it out. But
that's where you go.
I like it there.
Do they show the reel of car wrecks and stuff before you go on?
Yeah, they do all that shit.
Is the payphone still on stage?
I love it. I fucking love it. It's just far enough away from my house. I get a nice drive.
How you been feeling about your acting? Good?
Good lately. I mean, the play went well.
Yeah, well, that was the first time you ever did that?
First time I ever
You got good press on that, and the movies have been. I didn't see the funeral movie.
Funeral movie did fine.
And I saw the other one, the relationship movie.
That one did okay.
Yeah, that was good.
So I'm good. I'm having, man, I'm having fun.
What was the stage experience like?
Stage experience was the greatest experience ever. It's like, okay, it's the hardest thing you ever do, but it's also very easy. It's called The Motherfucker with the Hat. It's great just being out of your comfort zone.
Oh, yeah, and to be in that, and to be on stage and not be expected to get laughs necessarily and live in that moment.
I had, I'm bragging right now, name drop coming. Had dinner with Woody Allen.
You did?
Yeah. And
did he see the show?
He hadn't seen the show. But
what brought on the dinner?
I was in Rome with my family on vacation, and I bumped into Sun Yi. Mm-hmm. So what's up? And I didn't I didn't pressure her because I don't bother her. And next thing I get a call, hey, Woody wants to have dinner. So, and I assume since he's filming a movie in Rome, it'd be us and 10 people, me and my wife. It's like me, my wife, Woody, Sun Yi. It was great. But
what happened?
We talked. But he knew about the play, and the first thing he says to me is like, didn't you find it easy? No, I didn't find it easy. But parts of doing a play are easier than stand-up. You're doing stand-up, you got to do a fucking hour and a half by yourself.
And it's yours.
It's yours. There's other people on stage. Yeah. There's all these crutches that you don't have in stand-up.
It's not all on you.
Stand-up. I found it funny that Woody would say,
yeah, it's easy, right?
It was easy, right? I was like, damn.
Were you able to, do you work well with other people? I mean...
Yeah. When you got people...
What else did you fucking talk to Woody Allen about?
Dude, I was so nervous.
I mean, where does he figure into your...
He's my favorite. You see that big poster?
In the other room, yeah. He is your favorite?
He's my favorite. He's the best. Woody Allen's the best. Woody Allen He's not the best stand-up. He's a great stand-up, by the way.
He is a great stand-up. But there's just that 2-record set. That's all you get.
The 2-record set.
That's all you get.
Isn't it amazing that you think you've made more stand-up than Woody Allen?
Yeah.
Is that some shit?
Yeah. Well, he does make a movie every 10 minutes.
But he's the greatest comic mind in the last 100 years, since Chaplin.
Yeah.
And
you love him.
Who the fuck's been that funny that long?
I know.
Who?
Yeah.
Really?
Uh-huh.
You know.
And what else did you talk about? Comedy?
Comedy a little bit. Politics. He likes Obama more than me.
Uh-huh. He's like old school Jewish lefty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. My man is don't talk about his president, motherfucker.
Yeah, I find that. What's your take on him? I mean,
Obama, I'm happy. I mean, the first term. There's a fucking art to a first term, man.
You got handed a pretty fucking stinky bag of shit.
Because you're always running for the second term the whole time, so you can't. It's like Clinton's first term. It's like you can't really do your gangster shit to your second term.
Uh-huh.
It's just
you just got to make that cut. You got to make it.
You just got to make it. You can't really. Even Bush.
Yeah.
Couldn't really fuck up the world till his second term. Like that's when he put the hammer down on.
Yeah.
I'm fine with the president, man. I mean, I'm like everybody. I want more action, but I understand that he's, trying not to piss off a lot of people. But I believe wholeheartedly if he's back in, he's going to do some gangster shit.
Yeah. I haven't even been waiting for that. Don't you have those moments where you see him talk in a certain situation where you're like, wait, how come not more of that?
Yes.
And what do you think the answer to that is? As a performer.
Well,
why can't you just do your show?
Well, you know what it is? I think George Bush, the last George Bush we had, was the first cable TV president we had. And what I mean by that, and a call back to earlier, he was the first president that was only president to the people that voted for him. Right. He did not give a fuck about the people that didn't vote for him.
Which is not what a president should do.
Right? And Obama is actually trying to be president to the whole country. And, there's a lot of compromise being president to the whole country.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of hits you got to take from people who will see that as a vulnerability.
Yeah.
To get the next guy that'll only play to them in.
So
he's trying to do it old school.
Hopefully by now he's learned his lesson.
Yeah.
Bush, in a weird way, our complaints about Obama is because we miss Bush.
We miss hating somebody.
We miss hating somebody, but we miss the guy that didn't give a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
About these other.
You kind of want that.
Bush didn't give a fuck about us.
Yeah.
He just really, really didn't. And we kind of want our own. We want revenge. We don't want justice. Yeah. That's the problem with the Democrats. We want revenge.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, are you going on tonight?
Not tonight. I just got home, but I'll probably go on Sunday.
Oh, that's good. Maybe I'll get on then.
It's all me. Come on.
I'm kidding, man.
Come on.
No.
At least I'm working on something.
I know.
I don't come in there just jerking off.
No, you never do. And sometimes you actually just do what you're going to do. I wonder if Dave's going to go down there. Has he been going out?
He's been going up. But now, if he goes up, you're not going to get up. He's doing 3 hours.
I leave, yeah. But I'd like to see him. Is he all right?
He was funny as fuck last time I saw him.
Last week?
Last week. Oh, God, he was funny.
And he's still in town?
I think he's still in town. I mean, we went up back to back. He was clearly funnier. He was clearly the superior comedian of the night. Yeah.
How'd that make you feel?
Hey, man. I'm fine.
Really?
I'll have my day.
You had a couple.
I'll have my day.
You'll have another day, you mean?
There'll be another day. There'll be a day. Hey, he's come to my show and been like, oh, shit. Yeah. So.
You guys get along all right?
Yeah. Hey, man, Chappelle's the only man that puts fear in my heart.
Yeah?
I'm like, God damn, I don't want to go on. Yeah. He's fucking funny, man. This shit is ridiculous.
All right, thanks, Chris. Thanks for talking.
No problem, man.
Okay, that's it. That's our show, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. I had a lovely chat. It was an honor to speak to Chris Rock, in all honesty. Very smart, very accessible, very funny. Enjoyed it. Okay, is that all right? If I enjoy something, Thank you. What are you going to do now? Go to WTFpod.com, get on that mailing list, check out the episodes, kick a few shekels into the pot, get an app for iPod, iPad, iPod Touch, Droid, get those back episodes. Here's a couple things I want to tell you, though. The Christmas holidays are coming up, and under the merch section, we're going to be putting some new stuff up there. We're going to refill the posters. We got the mugs. We got the shirts. Now we're going to have buttons. We can have tote bags. We're going to put a little package together for the WTF fan in your life. Dig it. Am I selling a Christmas present? Am I selling a Christmas present? I am. We're also working on, now don't push me on this, but it should be done soon, within a month or so. We're going to put all the first 100 episodes on MP3 and make those available in a 2-CD set with some exclusive video footage. Look forward to that if you look forward to things like that. What else? I think that's about it. Punchline tonight through Saturday. That would be it.